How much are you participating in the future when it comes to the draft?
A lot. Magic's already assured me that we're going to get our top 3 pick this year, so I'm excited about that.
Can someone explain to me what we just watched? Because from here, it looks like Luke Walton just told the world that Magic already assured him the Lakers are keeping their top 2 pick.
Magic's already assured me that we're going to get our top 3 pick this year.
And we all know what happened. The Lakers ended up getting the 2nd pick in this year's draft. Isn't that a little suspicious? So what's up, guys? Mike here, and today I am filming in a hotel room, but ignore that because today we are going to look at one of the biggest questions in sports. In this video, I'm going to show you even more evidence that people use to point to the draft being rigged. We're going to look at some of the biggest draft conspiracies of all time, and then we're going to look behind the scenes of the actual NBA draft lottery and look at why people think the NBA draft is not rigged. We're always fair on this channel. There are 2 sides to this story, but enough talking. Let's just jump into this and ask ourselves, is the NBA draft really fixed? What you need to realize as we go over the evidence as to why the NBA draft lottery might be rigged is this. Fixing the NBA draft is the perfect way for the league to generate as much interest in its business as possible. Because at the end of the day, the league can't really control who wins games. We're not in the era of Tim Donaghy anymore. The rise of social media has given us more power to express outrage when it seems that referees are favoring one team. The league also can't really control trades or free agency, with one exception of course, but that's a subject for another video. What we're talking about here is the NBA's ultimate tool to make their product as popular as it can possibly be. With the NBA draft, the league has the perfect opportunity to place young stars in its biggest markets, and of course, huge stars in huge markets means more publicity for the league. And the thing is, when you look at the history of the draft lottery, it definitely seems like that is exactly what the NBA has done since the lottery was introduced. We saw it first back in 1985 when the NBA brought us the first draft lottery system. In this first lottery, only the bottom 7 teams were given a chance at the first pick. Each of these teams was given a single envelope, and the team whose envelope was picked first would be given the first pick. Now remember, the NBA of the 80s was not like the NBA today. At the time, the league had just suffered from problems relating to cocaine and fights from some of its biggest players, so fan interest was seen as a concern. And because the league's television deal with CBS was set to expire at the end of the 1986 season, it was crucial for the NBA to generate as much buzz as possible. So enter Patrick Ewing. After a college career that saw him become a Georgetown legend, Ewing entered the 1985 draft hyped as one of the best prospects the league had ever seen. And when we look at the 7 teams that held envelopes in the 1985 draft, Atlanta, Golden State, Indiana, the Los Angeles Clippers, New York, Sacramento, and Seattle, one premier market stands out, which is why the 1985 draft has been one of the biggest sources for conspiracy talks in sports history. Of course, the New York Knicks landed Patrick Ewing. They were the team that could give the league the most buzz and popularity amongst fans. And when we look at the actual draft lottery take place, we can see that the evidence for this conspiracy is right there in our faces. Now, I've already covered this specific draft lottery in a video I did a year ago, so let's just listen to what I had to say. Now, let's take a look at the video of the lottery. The man putting the envelopes into the plastic ball was Jack Wagner from the accounting firm Ernst & Whitney, a seemingly neutral party, right? However, as we dig deeper, we find that Ernst & Whitney was also the auditing firm for Gulf and Western, who, unrelated I'm sure, just happened to own the New York Knicks. Nothing suspicious there. As Wagner tosses the envelopes into the plastic ball, he presents the first piece of evidence that the draft was rigged. Look closely as he bangs the 4th envelope, which contained the New York Knicks draft card, against the metal of the plastic ball. As the envelope falls into the ball, if we freeze time, we can see that the corner of the envelope is now bent, marking it as the one that contained the New York Knicks draft card. He does not come close to hitting the metal with any of the other envelopes he tosses in. As the lottery continues, the ball is rotated as Stern looks intently at the envelopes that are being mixed around. He then walks up to the ball, ready to select the envelope that will give the team inside it the first pick in the draft. As Stern reaches into the plastic ball, we are going to freeze, as the camera clearly picks up the bent corner on the envelope that contains the Knicks pick. Surely, if we can see the bend now on a video that is from 1985, presumably Stern can see it in real life. Now, as Stern reaches into the ball, he clearly grabs multiple envelopes as another envelope has landed on top of the Knicks envelope. He then, for some reason, flips the envelope he has grabbed around before dropping all but one. The one with the bent quarter. The one that gave the Knicks the first pick in the 1985 draft. So you can see, in the first NBA draft lottery ever, the NBA was already pulling some shadiness. Again, as you saw, I already made a video on the 1985 NBA draft, and I seriously believe that when you look at that video, there is some hard evidence that that draft lottery was rigged. But of course, doing something over 30 years ago doesn't mean that every NBA draft lottery is rigged. And I wouldn't say every NBA draft lottery is rigged anyway, because the NBA is made up of smart people, and if they were really fixing their drafts, they would know to pick their spots. Let's fast forward to 1992, where the Orlando Magic, a new expansion franchise in a new huge market, were given the #1 overall pick and used it to select Shaquille O'Neal. Now, there was nothing shady about this at first, because the Magic did have the second best odds in this draft lottery. What was shady was that the next year, after going 41-41, the Magic won the first pick again, despite having the worst odds out of every single team. They used this pick to trade down and select Penny Hardaway, giving the league a young superstar duo that would skyrocket the Magic's popularity in Orlando. Now, let's jump to 10 years later, where in the 2003 draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers won the first pick and the right to take their hometown star, LeBron James. At the time of this draft, the Cavs were one of the worst franchises in the NBA, and now, well, we've seen the effect that LeBron has had on the Cleveland market. But to be fair, the Cavs did have the best odds in this draft. With that said, this wasn't the only time the league had a hometown hero get taken by his hometown team, as in 2008, Chicago's own Derrick Rose was selected by the Bulls after the Bulls had just a 1.7% chance of landing him, landing the top pick with a 1.7% chance. That seems pretty far out there, and when you combine that with the fact that Derrick Rose was from Chicago and that Chicago is one of the league's biggest markets, you can see that the conspiracies are beginning to pile up here. So let's continue on by backtracking one season to 2007, where Portland, a franchise with one of the league's most loyal fan bases, had fallen on hard times and had just missed the playoffs for 4 straight years. So of course, despite having just a 5% chance to land the top pick, the Trailblazers did just that and selected Greg Oden. As for the second pick, well, things get even shadier here, as in 2006, the Seattle Sonics were bought by Clay Bennett. Bennett made it clear that he was going to move the team if the city of Seattle did not fund the construction of a new basketball arena for the Sonics. And so, despite entering the draft with just the 5th best odds, the Sonics received the second pick and took Kevin Durant, a pick that some have seen as a last chance effort put forth by David Stern to keep the Sonics in Seattle. Many people believe that Stern thought that the star power brought by Durant would influence the voting in Seattle for the new arena, though we now know that even Kevin Durant was not enough to save the Sonics. And speaking of relocating franchises, let's take a look at one of the biggest draft conspiracies the league has ever seen, as in 2012, the NBA was the current owner of the New Orleans Hornets. The Hornets had just fallen on hard times. Things had gotten so bad that their previous owner was forced to sell the team after location and ticket sale problems that were related to the tragedy that was Hurricane Katrina. And so it's been theorized that in order to make sure the league was able to sell the Hornets and get the most money for the franchise, David Stern gave New Orleans the top pick despite the Hornets holding just a 14% chance to land the #1 spot. This pick was extremely valuable, as Anthony Davis was seen as one of the best prospects in league history, and of course, after AD went to New Orleans, the league was able to sell the team. Immediately, fans cried out that this draft was rigged, as Anthony Davis was seen wearing a New Orleans Hornets hat 2 weeks before the draft took place. And not only was this seen as suspicious by fans, but league executives were also disgusted by this turn of events. As Adrian Wojciechowski put it at the time, the reaction of several league executives was part disgust, part resignation on Wednesday night. So many had predicted this happening, so many suspected that somehow, some way, the Hornets would walk away with Davis. That's the worst part for the NBA. These aren't the railings from the guy sitting at the corner tavern, but the belief of those working within the machinery that something undue happened here, that they suspect it happens all the time under Stern. And so even team executives in the NBA believe that the draft lottery was indeed rigged, and as we've seen, they have a pretty strong case, a case that was only made stronger when the Cleveland Cavaliers were given the top pick in 2011, a pick that many saw as a consolation prize for losing LeBron James. Of course, the Cavs were also awarded the top pick in 2014 despite having just a 1.7% chance to choose number 1. This pick was a huge part in LeBron's decision to return to Cleveland, as the Cavs were able to trade the number 1 pick, Andrew Wiggins, to Minnesota in exchange for All-Star Kevin Love, giving us yet another turn of events that many believe the league had a hand in. Now, with all of this evidence in place, I know some of you are still doubting this, and that's fine. I'm not even saying the NBA draft is rigged, I'm just saying things do look suspicious. But again, we have to be fair here, so let's look at the counter side of this argument. So let's look at how the NBA holds its draft lottery. Now, as we know, the league does not determine the picks during the actual draft lottery show. Instead, the league selects the order in a private room that contains representatives from each NBA team in the lottery, as well as a handful of reporters. In this private selection, the league places 14 numbered ping pong balls into a machine. The machine spits out 4 balls, and those combinations tell the NBA who has won the first, second, and third pick. Now, because this drawing is done in front of representatives from every team in the lottery, many have decided that the draft cannot possibly be rigged. But with that said, my biggest question is this: why the secrecy here? Why does the NBA hold the real lottery in a private back room where we can't see what really happens? Now, I'm not claiming that this is some huge conspiracy that everyone related to the draft lottery is involved in. I'm not saying that the teams in the lottery are in on this. What I am saying is the fact that the NBA doesn't broadcast the ping pong ball selection live is suspicious. Selecting the balls in a private room certainly gives the league more of a chance to potentially tamper with things than if they broadcasted the selection live to millions of people that would be able to dissect everything that was happening. Now, the NBA's official reason for not showing us the ping pong ball selection live is that it wouldn't be interesting, which sounds fine until you realize that right now the NBA draft lottery is literally a show where Adam Silver just opens up a bunch of envelopes live. Anything is more entertaining than that. It doesn't matter what the league is doing during the draft lottery show, what matters is what's at stake, and I'm positive that the same NBA fans who are willing to watch a bunch of envelopes get opened are the same NBA fans that would be willing to watch a bunch of ping pong balls get selected. What's more, remember the man from Ernst & Whitney we saw in the 1985 draft lottery? The one who bet the corner on the New York Knicks envelope? Well, he was the NBA's version of an independent party. In today's version of the draft lottery, the league also uses an independent party. And wouldn't you know it, this independent party is from none other than Ernst & Young, or as they were formerly known, Ernst & Whitney. But again, I'm not saying the draft is rigged. I'm just saying this is very suspicious, especially when you consider Luke Walton's comments we saw at the beginning of this video. I mean, come on, was the league really going to let the Lakers, their signature franchise, lose their second pick? It seemed like there was no chance. Like Adam Silver, man, just do the ping pong balls in front of us. That's all we want. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. We're in the NBA offseason right now. To me, this is like the best part of being a fan. These draft rumors have been insane. And you know, if one of these rumors actually becomes a trade, I'm going to make a video on it. So again, if you're new and you love basketball, subscribe. You will not regret it. And if you're already subscribed, thank you guys so much. I am in California right now. I am going to be at VidCon. So if you're going to be at VidCon, go follow me on Twitter and Instagram. That way I could show you where I am at VidCon. We can meet. It'll be an amazing time. And I'm rambling. As always, guys, have an awesome day and cue that music.